as you can see here, the entire.
Greetings, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to this week's episode of The Locker Room right here on Top 6 Fan TV. As you can see from our guests, One Manzi and Lord Boom, aka, or should I say, Chris Wamanu, aka Lord Boom, chairman of the Boom Squad, is in the house. The Man United special, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be catching up with the results from a jam-packed weekend of action in the Premiership, and we'll get into it right after this.
Bukayo Saka! Anthony! Salah! Beautiful from Aubameyang! Bane! Good! There goes Haaland. He's on.
Fantastico. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, to the Locker Room right here on Top 6 Fan TV. Like I mentioned, Man's in the house from United and Chris as well from United. Also in the house, I'll be flying the flag for the Gunners. And apologies from Liverpool and Chelsea stalwarts. They're not able to join today, but the show must go on. And with it, some fantastic results from a weekend of action. By the way, if you just joined, feel free to hit the subscribe button, drop a like, share our content, and feel free to participate in the conversation. Drop your comments, and we'll be happy to share them on the screen. And we'll get right into the action from the weekend, and no other place to start than the Theatre of Dreams that faced two teams apart, according to what's that? Is that Troll Football? Did you see that one, guys? Eric Ten Hag saying it was unfair. He faced two teams, Tottenham and Hotspurs, and that is why he lost. The memes are quite hot for for United there, but 3-0 the final result at Old Trafford. Red card there by Bruno Fernandes. And now kick it off with Chris there. To what extent do you believe Bruno Fernandes' red card contributed to the loss at Old Trafford? And was it a deserved red card? Oh, you're on mute, man.
Yeah. So, man, yeah, I don't even know where to start about that game because we will. You can hear me?
You are roboting, man. Your audio is roboting.
I can't believe it. Let me just try and get sort of my internet.
Right. While you're fixing it, I actually think it's your audio, your headphones or something like that. The internet seems to be. But Manzi, I'll put you in. You take that one. We'll come back to Chris.
I don't think it was a red card. I think, like many people have said, he slipped. And if you watch it again, you see that he slipped. But I would say that the way he went in for a tackle, and I think he deserved a yellow card. Red was at a straight red. It was uncalled for, really. I think the ref overreacted. Whether or not it would have made a difference, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Playing 10 or playing 11 was still poor nonetheless, but it was a bit harsh on him. Yeah, that's what I would say. Maybe Chris can add on.
Yeah, is it
much better? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, for once, Manzi and I, other than support United, are on the same side. So no, guys. I mean, honestly, one, I think that wasn't a red, and I don't know what VAR is for if it can't intervene in such decisions because
I know, right, man?
They had the opportunity to play it back and say, look, the guy slipped as well as coming in, which made it look worse than it is. You can go for the yellow, and I'm sure if the ref had seen the replay, he would have actually made the decision otherwise, right? So the fact that VAR didn't intervene in that decision is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, it's a straight red. You're supposed to come in and tell the ref, do you had this other information? Do you maintain your decision or not? They did not. And that's what shocks me. On whether it would have changed the game, look, we saw teams go to 10 men in the first half, and they packed a bus for the whole of the second half, right? And United came out and actually played some attacking football, despite the numbers and the lack of motivation in the players. Rashford. I mean, the first goal you saw Rashford was really laissez-faire between him and Garnacho. They play a ball, it's in an open space, and then they both debate, and then they lose it. And yet we still managed to attack. We had some attacks on goal. There are teams that I will not mention that went a man down and did not attack for an entire half.
You are putting your finger in the backside of a leopard, my brother.
So you can imagine.
Go ahead.
If we had 11 men on the pitch, the coach would have definitely made some changes. Yes, Bruno's having a bad day. He's had a bad run generally, and I think this sitting it out a bit will give him some time to, look at the game and think of it a little more. But I think it all started with how Ten Hag has used him in the past. That's what has made him lose his form. So yeah, I mean, Zexi was having his worst game of the day. I mean, we've never had him play that badly since he's joined us. So it was a combination, but I think if we had stayed at 11 men, we're going to squeeze out a draw and probably even a win. To be honest, I don't think it was going to be as bad as
Chris, jokes, man.
Hey. But I mean, so Chris, you're very happy with Eric Ten Hag's setup, the way he set up the squad, even before that red card came in. Did you feel United were being dominant?
No, we were not. I mean, look, the goal after 2 minutes was a shocker. That one always shakes up guys, right? And I don't think we had enough leadership on the team. De Ligt is new, Managerial is new, Dallo is just about his business. I don't think he's much of a leader. You have Maino in the middle, Ugarte in the middle. So actually, if you look around the park, there were not many leaders. Bruno is probably too caught up with his own form to actually pull the pack together. You would have thought that when after such a shocker goal, the captain, pulls the guys in and huddles up. This nonsense Arteta does that doesn't seem to be able to win him any league. And do something like that and tell the guys to, bring the troops back together. So we don't have those leaders. And if you look around the park, there was actually no one to tell guys, relax, calm down. The guys at the back, I think out of, like I've named them, Mazraoui, De Ligt is new. Martinez was also trying to hack everyone he could find. Dallo is probably not a leader. Maino, Ugarte in the middle of the park. You had Bruno, you had Rashford, Garnacho. So we didn't have a leader, and Zexi up front. So we didn't have a proper leader to tell the guys, focus, let's keep going. And that's what probably... so the setup was fine. It's just that the lack of leadership is probably what made the guys really crumble. But we're used to starting like that, and we normally settle in the second half. And that's why even the pundits were saying, if they get to halftime, that will be what will change it. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, looking at the way things were going, when I looked at that team sheet, the first thing I remember posting on some forum I was wondering why Højlund was not starting at the top and Zexi, on the wing with Garnacho either side of Bruno Fernandes in the middle, and then having Manu Ugarte and Kobe Mino on the double pivot behind. I think would have given you a bit more balance and also relegated Rashford. I mean, look, from an outsider looking in, and you guys can tell me, Manzi, I don't know what you think. I'll pull you in here, but I feel like it's time for Rashford to start coming off the bench. Forget about what he earns, and I think that's the issue plaguing United's reboot. You're not truly rebooting. Rashford needs to hit the bench. Zexi needs to start with Garnacho, and the way I've mentioned it. And then you can have impact subs coming off the bench with Rashford, Ahmad. Then you bring on our guy who likes going around in circles. What's his name? The Brazilian chap. Again,
Anthony.
Roundabouts. Yeah, that guy, Anthony. You bring on Anthony. When you're chasing faggy time, things have jumped, right? And then of course you bring in now the likes of Chris. You're talking about experience, right? You bring in Ericsson to calm the game down. You know what I mean? 70th minute there to just calm the midfield down.
Before Manzi can come in, you see, that Tottenham game was going to be open. It was open for counterattacks because the way Tottenham plays, that was a Rashford game. A Rashford who had scored a couple of goals, probably his confidence is back up, and you saw he was actually trying to do a few things. So I don't see how in any way Rashford was not going to start that game, because that was a game for him to actually get back his confidence against the big side. Manzi, I don't know what you think. Yeah.
Manzi, do you agree?
No, I don't agree, of course, with Chris. Chris is mad. I want to tell you that even before a minute of that game was played, I had already predicted a sure loss. And for me, I thought it would be like 1-0 or 2-0 at worst. But 3 from a poor team like Tottenham Hotspur. First of all, we scored all our goals at Barnsley. Like all the 7 goals, we should first redistribute them in all these other games. Because I don't know if you saw that stat which I shared, that United have scored at Old Trafford this season. 1 goal. Like, how many strikers do we have? How can all the strikers be sharing 1 goal? So I could agree with you that Rashford is poor. He should come off the bench. But Hoyland is going to get injured tomorrow. He'll play 1 game and then get injured. Zaxi, I have not yet understood his football. Like, one day he's very good, and I will agree with Christian that he had a poor game.
But he's settling in. The man is settling in.
Garnacho,
Really?
and then when will he settle in? Great time has gone, man. Guys have left us. Guys, Slot is looking at the table like so. Anyway, look at Garnacho. Garnacho, he looks like he's good, but then he's not serious. Like, if you're shooting, shoot properly. I don't know. But if you had to look at the entire squad, we have like 7 poor players, extremely poor, people who should not be playing for United. And all those players should bounce. Let me mention them. First, Rashford. Rashford shouldn't be playing for us. Anthony shouldn't be playing for us. Who else is poor? Casemiro Bernardes is not playing.
Hey man, Casemiro. Those are guys that are supposed to come off the bench.
Even Fernandes. Okay, Fernandes. We have no other player in that position. So Fernandes can play, but the team doesn't have. Well, I agree with Chris. Like some kind of leadership. They don't play as a team. Everyone plays individually. You can see, like in the last game where Garnacho keeps running into Zaxi there. Then either it's Garnacho running into Zaxi or it's Garnacho running into Rashford. Like the ball is there. It's like they don't train. So what we see against Tottenham,
as Cole says
is a result.
On that Manzi. Sorry.
Yeah.
As Paul Scholes actually mentioned, the team doesn't look. It looks uncoached.
Yes.
It looks like when you get Bachuba to come and play for your school team and they meet on the day. You're like, okay, now we're going to play school league. We have arrived. You don't know each other.
They come and it's like they don't know, the guys at the back don't know each other's weaknesses. They've
just met.
It's like they've just met. So you ask yourself, what do these guys do at Carrington the whole week?
You know, man.
Man, they be plugging the leakages in the roof.
You don't practice corners. You're like, what do they practice the whole week?
But I mean that notwithstanding. So that, guys, I think you guys are both pointing towards the management here. You guys, the fingers are pointing towards the bench. So I mean, because we need to bring this United discussion to a close before we move on to the other teaser results. Erik ten Hag in or Erik ten Hag out? Before my next question, Chris, I know you had hope in the man, you had faith, but looking at the next run of games, at the way things are going, I don't know. What's your take before I bring Manzi in?
You know, the problem with changing coaches, you go back to the drawing board and you're going to go into another 2-3 years of he needs to get his own players and blah 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 blah. That same thing. So so you're like, but the problem also, these guys refuse to wake up to the reality. I mean, someone said it yesterday. I don't know if it was one of the pundits on the TV or it was on one of the chat groups where someone said, why isn't he playing Hoyland and Zaxi? Given Zaxi is kind of a number 10. So play them up together, and this wing stuff has jammed. You give up, you allow, and say, okay, or you play one wing,
right.
and these guys, just try it. I know no one is doing it anymore in
4-4-2.
football.
4-4-2.
Yeah, but try it. Go back to 4-4-2 and see how it works.
That's
Yeah.
the plan.
So
is he in or out, man? You're on the fence.
I'm still on the fence, but he doesn't want to accept his mistakes. Of course, now when you look at Sancho bowling at Chelsea, then you have to wonder, okay, then there's a problem here, because Sancho failed to play at United.
Yes,
but not under only Ten Hag, he failed to play under Ole as well. It wasn't, but Ole nursed him better. But he failed. I mean, he fell out of Ten Hag. But now you see him at Chelsea, and the guy is creating assists. He's happy. He's retweeting and liking posts.
Hey man, hammering Ten Hag. Yeah. When they say, our dressing room has only one toilet. Man, you just see a retweet there. I like from Judas Sancho, but they carry it on him. Who is as Manzi? But now Manzi, okay, Chris has been on the fence. Yes?
Me, I am on Team Ole. Ole in. Let me just say this. Like Chris has said that when you get a new manager, you're going to go backwards and repeat the process. But when I look at Onslaught, he hasn't made me forget about Klopp. Like the guy just entered and he has been caning.
He has slotted right in.
He has slotted right in. You can get a manager who will come to United and first bounce all the 11 players.
He had the summer. Remember, once you had the summer, it's different, right?
Yeah.
But no, how many summers has Ten Hag had? Chris,
Ten Hag is the third year now.
How many?
I'm saying if we change a manager now, we're going back to the drawing board. While Slot had the summer to acclimatize to the players.
Anyway, let me say why I'm Team Ole. And see, when Ole was playing United, we knew that we had gone back to 1999 attack. But for Ten Hag, I have still not understood. Are we attacking or defending? Are we pressing? At least Ralph Ragnick. We had Gengen press, whatever that was. But Ten Hag, what are we doing? Are we attacking? Are we defending? Are we pressing? Are we starting from the back? He has not done have that unique playing style, and I feel that's a big thing we are missing.
There we go, Manzi. Ten Hag out, Ole in. Out. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, Ole declaring last week that if United ever called upon him,
if Ole comes back, he'll be successful.
He would be happy to come back
with the backing of Ineos.
Real backing of Ineos.
Cristiano, mess him up.
No, Cristiano. But let's pull in some comments here from the virtual audience, guys. Awunza Kevin Micah saying United's problem ain't only on the pitch. Well, it starts from that bald head. Hey, man. Micah, what's going on? You pulled out guns. There's some very nice bald-headed men out there. Okay, so bald head, Erik ten Hag. This is Busungu. If not, how come Slot is doing so well at Liverpool? And yet, he also has a bald head. Let me add to that. So, that's Awunza Kevin Micah. Daniel Gastatura, Sykes the man. Greetings from Kigali. I know you're based down there. You're saying I didn't know you that Mr. Boom. My brother, today the English is a bit Frenchy.
You didn't know Mr. Boom was a real person.
I did know that Mr. Boom is a realistic in person. That's a great
realistic in person.
Hey man, Gaza man, what guy? Today you're Frenching, man. Your English is Frenching, but that's all right, my brother. We get the point. They're appreciating that Chris is a passionate. Sykes there, Liverpool man, enjoying being at the top of the table. Thanks for the comment, Sykes. And bringing this United Jazz to a close, Chris. Right? You're on the fence. Yeah. You're worried about the impact of a new manager coming in. Manzi, you're obviously Erik ten Hag out. Ole in. I imagine Ole in until the end of the season, right? That's an option, right?
Be successful. What the guy said,
that's an option.
He was just showing guys videos from class of 92 and go and score.
Hey, but ideally, Chris, there's this rumor. Well, not rumor, but there's a lot of focus now amongst the rumor mill also shifting to Ruud van Nistelrooy waiting in the wings, or his shadow just casting a negative sort of, or rather ominous, let me use the word, ominous sort of aura over the bench there, that he is actually looking to take over, right? So Eric Ten Hag gets sacked tomorrow. Chris, the papers, Eric Ten Hag out. Ole till the end of the season, or Ruud van Nistelrooy? Who would you take?
It's a tough one because I really loved Ole, but I think I'll take Ruud. I want to see what Ruud can provide, and I think the rumors are really built up. But given that Ruud was part of the signings, you would think that he had a part in the signings, so you avoid that issue of the players. He was part of deciding who goes, so it gives you some continuity. Ole will come in and say, "Where's Scott? Where is Scott?
Hey, man, where's Carrick? Where's my Phil Jones, man? First come back. Hey." These things are a bit tight. But anyways, that's all right. I think we need to move on. Danny gets coming back to English.
But one thing that you need to notice: do you realize the Dutch wave at United?
Yeah, I can notice it's quite Dutch right now. But would you say only at United? I mean, it's the same thing at Liverpool, not as intense. I mean, you have more Dutchmen at United, but Liverpool have their own share, right?
Yeah,
Dutch national team captain, Dutch coach. Who else? The star striker for the Dutch, Gakpo, although he's being underutilized at Liverpool. So you can see there's growing Dutch influence in the league. And of course at Arsenal, we also have our own share in Urian Timber and who's the other guy, man? I think it's actually Urian Timber, man. Yeah, but anyways, that influence is growing. Eric Ten Hag has half the team he had at Ajax and still can't deliver.
Exactly.
We don't know what's going on. So I think the consensus there, despite Chris sitting on the fence, is Eric Ten Hag out, and it will be between Ruud van Nistelrooy and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Guys, if you're watching, feel free to
Chris.
Hey,
how do you feel so optimistic amidst that? Do you think like maybe something will click and October will go better, or November or December if we remain with Ten Hag? Or do you think, man, this is the best you can do?
No, guys, for me it's very simple. I don't think we are bad. It's just that we don't score. You see, if you don't score, you remain on the back foot. And if you don't have a goal threat, then guys go attacking. If we had a serious goal threat, there's why Van Veen is making that run. He's passing that ball much earlier because he knows should he be dispossessed. He was the linchpin in that back four. Without him, they were too slow. But because he knew the goal threat is so low, it's a matter of, like, Ruud just needs to get Garnacho, Rashford, and Zirkzee and put in an extra 30 minutes every coaching session and learn how to shoot. Because the guys are just crap at shooting. So we don't score. We don't score. That's our only problem. Because you see, when you don't score, you also put the defenders under pressure because you're playing a 1-0 lead.
They make mistakes.
They
because they're like, man, now.
But
if you're like 3 goals up, then they also defend better.
They also relax, they defend better, and that's why teams like Liverpool, City are able to actually get away. But when you begin to concede goals like we do, and your guys are not scoring, it puts you under so much pressure.
The way guys go through the midfield, the way the guys
that was going to be my point. The midfield as well, Chris.
Just go through us like
we're not scoring because the midfielders are trying to influence the scoring, so they get out of position. You find Bruno is trying to go up to the corner post because guys are not doing it. So it's that not scoring bit is a very big impact on the team. That's why for me, I'm optimistic. Once you click that, we are back on course.
Okay.
With the same players, we get a striker because these guys can't learn now. Where they have reached, that's maximum.
It's the coach. But it's the coach. I'm sure they have a bit more potential. The manager has killed them.
They have Ruud van Nistelrooy. Like, can't they just watch Van Nistelrooy's YouTube videos? They'll score. Like, if you just watch that game.
The problem, man, all these videos were tappings, man. Now you're teaching guys how to tap in. Anyways, guys, let me bring in a couple of comments here from our virtual audience. Almost Kevin Micah coming back and saying, RV and Ruud van Nistelrooy, does he have the ambition? I recall that infamous discourse of Ronaldo in his second spell at United, and he said the current United lacks ambition. Of course, pointing to Cristiano Ronaldo's latest interview with Rio Ferdinand. And then Danny Gasatura Gogathaix responding to a bit of a banter up there, reinforcing that English is hard at the top of the table. We speak Dutch up here, my friend. I tell you, Liverpool fans are really enjoying this. But we'll have to move on from all things United and move, or rather on the red side of United, and move to the blue side of United, where we did have Manchester, or rather blue side of Manchester, sorry, where we did have Manchester City away though this time at St. James's Park, finding it difficult, difficult for City to break them down. The final result, a 1-1 draw. The goals coming in from Josko Gvardiol with a great goal for Manchester City. Fantastic finish, I would say. And then, of course, a penalty from Anthony Gordon, securing a draw for Manchester, or rather for Newcastle. And what that means is Liverpool, with their win, and we'll touch on them a little bit later, climb to the top of the table on 15 points, one ahead of Man City on 14 points. Arsenal also on 14 points, and then Chelsea on 13, and we'll get into those results. But interesting result there for Manchester City. Chris, of course, the big talking point from last week for City really was the fact that they lost arguably the player of the year, potential Ballon d'Or player of the year, to an ACL. Dreadful injury. You wouldn't wish that on any player to be out for the whole season. But do you feel City can cope without Rodri?
I think I contributed that last week's show and said, you know what, they'll be okay. It's just Newcastle is that hot and cold beast that has no fear, and teams that have fear are the ones that try to take the sword to City when you have nothing to lose, and that's why Newcastle's defeats are either really bad or they're like very tight. So when you come against Newcastle, I think that's the difference. They have that no fear attitude, and that's where City doesn't do well with such teams. There's another team that got relegated that used to harass them. Was it Burnley? There's someone who got relegated that used to really harass them because they did not respect them.
Was it Luton Town? So Burnley, I think Burnley.
Luton Town also, Luton Town also used to play them with nothing to lose. Guys, no one expects this game, so let's go at it. But when you play them like the Arsenals of this world, where you sit back and park in front of your 18-yard box, like, just because you've lost one man, then that's when they bring the heat to you. And that's why
my guy. We can see the effect this weekend. We can see the effect this weekend of going all out when you've lost one man, against a counter-attacking team. Moreover, anyway, let's say.
So I think they'll do well with that. They'll cope eventually. He'll figure it out. He has the quality off the bench to figure it out. And remember, for him, his style is I attack you until you can't attack me. Yeah, it's not really to defend. It's I attack you till you cannot attack me. So it's I think they'll figure it out.
Okay, let's wait and see. And that result there, reinforcing the troublesome ground, or reputation of a troublesome ground that St. James's Park is. But moving on from there, it was up to the Arsenal to actually respond following the drama of last weekend, and they welcomed Leicester City to the Emirates. 4-2 the final score, but that was not without additional drama. Arsenal racing into a 2-0 lead there with Gabi Martinelli and Leandro Trossard before a quick-fire double from wingback James Justin got Leicester City level, and they actually held out until well past the 90th minute when Trossard managed to nick third one in off Ndidi. It's actually credited, credited to Ndidi with an own goal, and then Havertz finishing it up there. 4 to the final score for the Arsenal. Manzi, narrow miss, or did Arsenal survive this, or did their persistence pay off?
Man, when you see the score 4-2, you might think Arsenal was on fire. It does not even tell you half the story. Arsenal was so disappointing. They are so poor. Like, how can you lead 2-0 and then you lose that lead in some really fake we constantly say Arsenal has a good defensive record, they have a serious back line, they are good at defense, they have Bambi David Ryan, but the goals David Ryan should, he is a good keeper. I even recently bought him in fantasy, he got 1 point. I was so disappointed. Leicester is a poor team. Like, how they should have beaten Leicester like 3-0 and then they chill. But it was actually, I was watching a game with an Arsenal fan, and man, Gay was on pressure until like the 92nd minute when they were lucky to get that goal, and there was an error by Leicester again for them to score the fourth goal. So I found that Arsenal started well. Like when they score and they're in the lead, then they take their foot off the gas. Again, over there, also lacking leadership. Like they do not have convincing wins where they beat you and you allow. It's for pulling ropes, they as if not. Yeah, so that was my review of that game when I watched. I'm like, Arsenal. It was a narrow escape. They survived.
Well. I can see some more
Oh,
comments
you're
here
not
coming.
accepting that you're part of the games where in the 90th minute you had allowed. It was a draw.
I am going to make my comment. I'm going to make my submission after reading this one from Mr. Kevin. Micah saying United's noisy neighbors are still recovering from the way their balls, my man, were held in the Arsenal game. Newcastle was never going to be easy for them. Yeah, anyway, Newcastle is a deadly one. At that, I definitely agree, Kevin. But yeah, and I think Manzi, to some extent, I would agree with you. We're not very good at finishing off teams. I think, and this is why a good number of Arsenal fans have been calling for like a proper striker. Like I would take Højlund any day at the front of that Arsenal queue. But of course, Arsenal growing used to scoring goals by committee, and it was great to see Martinelli back on the score sheet. And this is certainly reaping the benefits of having Calafiori and potentially Timber as well at the back there, contributing to his play at the front. So it's great to see that. But that notwithstanding, spectacular goals from James Justin, especially the second one. The first one you could say could have been defended a lot better, and I'd see complacency in that defense after last week's game, leading to those 2 goals. But yeah, nevertheless, Arsenal taking the 3 points. We will match with that. At least we close the gap on City, level with City. As long as we're level with City, it doesn't matter who's above us, Liverpool or whichever two. As long as we're level with City. We're level with City, that's fine. It reminds me of the good old days back in the day where Arsenal fans will only look towards beating United. One of the games. Just beat United and the season is done. Where we don't mind finishing 7th. And that was it. But moving on to the guys who have slotted right in. Liverpool's boys. Away to Wolves. And Wolverhampton Wanderers, interesting game there. 2-1 the final score. It was actually a little bit tight. You could notice that soft rock, as they call Ancelot's football, it's not heavy metal Jurgen Klopp's brand of football, Gegenpress as they call it. But soft rock has a bit of edginess towards it. They're not steamrolling teams 4-0. It's a bit more patient build-up. But in the Premier League, as Slot found out, when was it? Last weekend when they were beaten? Or they dropped points or something like that. It can get you issues. And they came across a combative Wolves team at this, and it was a good game. Konate there opening the scoring for Liverpool, Ryan Nuri equalizing for Wolves, and eventually Mo Salah basically stealing the points with a penalty. Liverpool at the top of the table. Chris, are these guys staying at the top of the table? And what is Arne Slot doing right in his first season that Eric Ten Hag has failed to do in his last two, or rather, this is his third season?
But you see, you could actually argue that the Liverpool team, it's just Klopp that has left. They haven't, I don't think any players left from Klopp's team. They should.
I don't think.
Yeah, they probably just added one or two, but otherwise they're all still there. So it's very hard to. Yeah, Arne Slot could take the credit for it, but I think, was it Liverpool where you could see one of the players was still playing in the Klopp style, and he was on the touchline, very, very frustrated with the past one of the, I don't remember which game it was, and it was picked up that he wants them to play a certain way, but they're still playing the Klopp way. So I'm still not convinced about this being him, because you see, usually when the manager leaves, like Klopp, especially when he announces his departure that early, you see an exodus of players going, because many of them make decisions and they tend to say, no, I can't play for any other manager, or they follow the manager or something. That didn't happen in Liverpool. It's more or less the same team, because usually when managers that have been that successful at a team leave, they shake it up. So you could argue that he's building on what Klopp had, but the guys have been properly drilled with that Klopp style of play. We'll probably take a season, this season, or maybe Jan, for when things, when he begins to now make some substitutions, when Champions League football comes in, the FA Cup probably, and so on and so forth. When the fixtures build up, internationals also build up, that's when we'll begin to now really see Arne Slot. For now, they're not that convincing. The fact that Salah is not firing, I don't know if he's trying to win himself away from Salah, probably, and more towards Luis. I'm still out there on Liverpool. They just got lucky, to be honest, in that Wolves game. Because the goal they conceded, I mean, like what was that?
No, those guys better really survived. If the Wolves guy hadn't thrown, which guy did he foul in the box? If they hadn't gotten that penalty, it was 1-1. Actually, they struggled to score. They struggled to break down Wolves. Yeah, so they're unfortunate to be penalty.
That's the Premier League for you. That's the Premier League, and we'll see what happens with them. But moving on swiftly to Chelsea at the bridge, 4-2, the final score against Brighton. 4 goals in the first half from Cole Palmer. First time in the Premier League era that 4 goals have ever been scored in the first half. Ice cold finishes at that, and basically they wrapped up the points against Brighton quite early in the game, although Brighton did, they did concede a couple of goals from Brighton. But the talking point here, Chris, have Chelsea unearthed the next Hazard?
I don't
He'll
know.
be better than Hazard. He'll be much better than Hazard.
You think so?
Yeah, it's quite a good game.
Different style.
If this guy stays, he'll be like Rooney.
I mean, really? You think he's a Rooney guy? I don't see. There's something about him.
Goals from anywhere.
It's okay.
Okay, not Rooney, but
Gerrard maybe.
An England.
It's as if a Gerrard, a blend between. I would say Gerrard, not so much power, but hey, man,
actually, yeah. But you see that's
the Gerrard-ish thing around.
A player like Koba, I don't know how is his pace, brother. I've not really seen him. Is he fast?
He's not like really very fast, and he's not very.
Yeah,
I mean, against a defender like Konate, Konate would floor him properly.
Exactly.
But you give him space in midfield.
Exactly.
So that's play against United's pace.
Remember how who's this guy in United? I've forgotten. How can I forget his name? How he marked Hazard, following him toe for toe, like everywhere he went. Who was it?
No,
it wasn't Avra. It was this United guy. He went to PSG. From United, went to PSG. What was his name?
this guy from Spain, Hernandez.
Yes.
Is it? The guy from Athletic.
One of the guys on the
yes,
will
yes,
tell us.
yes, yes, yes.
So the Premiership, that's how it works. Now, a guy like this, he doesn't have pace on his side. He doesn't have probably the muscle. All they're going to do is put one guy on him to mark him, and he'll fizzle out of the game. He'll be out.
It's a,
But
not
this
Cole
guy is
Palmer.
finishing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
This
he's
guy is
too
finishing.
bad.
That's the thing.
First
That's
of
the thing.
all,
I never allow. The only person who has defied that rule has probably been Salah. The Premiership does not give you 2 seasons to do that. The next season, everyone knows. Messi did that in the La Liga for almost 15 years.
Hey,
wait, first of all, you have to remember last season, Cole Palmer carried the whole of Chelsea on his back.
Hey.
Alone. Without Cole Palmer, Chelsea would have been 15.
Chelsea would
The
have been
season
like
has
12,
begun.
dude.
12.
The man is on
Palmer
fire.
just dedicated himself to saving Chelsea. Even now this season, I think he has how many goals? You have like 7, 8 there.
I'll check.
He has a number of goals. I'm still the fact that he has a free kick, he has the shot from outside the box.
He has a free kick. He has 6 goals.
So that makes him
6 goals.
Yeah. So the question is, how long will he stay at Chelsea with that combination? Probably not long. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think Chelsea are going to do everything.
United.
No, this guy is not leaving, guys. They're going to build. They're going to give this guy a 20-year contract, boss.
I know, and first of all, he's like 20, 22.
Hey, build their team around him.
Football until Real comes knocking.
Okay, yes. I will say that's the only exception, Real Madrid. But the rest, Premier League and that. But man, I mean, hats off to this guy, Chris. Man, the guy's finishing.
Yeah,
I mean, the goal. Not even. I mean, the one last week where he.
I mean, if you look at this guy and the strikers we have at United, you'd be like, man, this guy can finish. Yet our guys are just finding the fans.
So 2 questions. One, did Manzi, did Pep err, or did he make a mistake in letting Cole Palmer go? For Chelsea,
Pep already has too many players. He already has too many good players. Actually, this guy is Fodenish. He has a Fodenish thing about him. That's why I think they won't play well together anymore. Foden and him. Either play for them or play Cole Palmer.
Classic Lampard, Gerrard conundrum, again for him.
Yeah, Gerrard, and So you look at Pep. He didn't err. I think that he didn't. Let me not say that he did. He has very many good players, and this guy is young. He's 22. Pep once guys already established. You want to get already too bad. Guy was gonna hit the ground running, and I didn't think he thought this guy would be like this. He also didn't see the future.
But and then Chris, let me bring you in. Enzo Maresca. He's also flying under the radar with regards to some positive. I mean, he has got Chelsea playing football.
Actually, for me,
he has managed to select, out of his 72 players, he has managed to say these are the 20 I'm going to go with every weekend, and some sanity returning, and you can see this now, some comfort in that Chelsea team, right, with the way they are playing. Just like you said, even me, I'm surprised about his impact on Sancho. I mean, we're talking Sancho, but there's Madueke who's playing great. There's Nicholas Jackson who's also playing great, and
who's not found his true boots. Nicholas Jackson is not wearing Timberlands to the game anymore, man.
Boss, man is flying into the games.
Last game and this game, the man is on fire.
Maresca is that's the guy I would say is probably has had the most impact on a team that is coaching ahead of Arne Slot, because the team it's more or less a different team, and then those guys were clueless the same last season, right? They were just doing anything. They were like headless chickens running around, and now he's gotten some order. He has 72 players to deal with. He has picked he's let out the guys he thought he couldn't work with. He told them straight up. And you see, when you see a coach do that, now you see for us, we let Sancho go, and now he's shining. He let Sterling go, and so he's warming the bench the other side. Like he's not making it into the team. So you begin to see, okay, now that guy, I can say, okay, fine, that one's one to watch probably. Yeah. That one I can see there's something there.
All right. So I mean that all, I mean, it's great football there, great results, and But the table is already starting to shape up, gentlemen. Like I mentioned, Liverpool top on 15 points. Manchester City, Arsenal tied, or rather, Manchester City in second and Arsenal, but they're tied on 14 points. Chelsea 1 point behind and 13. And then Aston Villa also on 13 points, further behind for them. And Aston Villa actually drew with Ipswich Town, away to Ipswich Town this particular weekend. So table is shaping up. I don't see any dark horses breaking into that. Well, the only dark horse I can see is Manchester United, who are 13th. My goodness, you guys, you're in 13th.
That's a black
13th
horse.
position.
A dark horse. That's
The
a black
black horse. I don't know what kind of. Anyway, it's still 6 games into the season.
No, but I think most guys have given Ten Hag until the next international break. If he hasn't figured, and then if he loses to,
but it's after this weekend.
Porto is expected to lose. If he loses Porto, I don't know.
And Villa, actually, Villa will beat us.
No,
Villa
I
will
think
beat us properly.
Those are the ones where he will have to earn his job. But he tends to be good at that. Where he needs to earn his job, he tends to earn it.
There's a problem with United. Like, we can be fake for like 2-3 games. Then in some Caradon game, we win.
Yeah.
And then guys like, hey, so it's so up and down, you can't even predict.
I hear you.
Arsenal staff and Liverpool staff, us were assured back in the day that if United starts, it's a win, like sure win.
My brothers, please, at this point, I want to, as our Archbishop Uganda Anglican usually says, let's comfort and keep our United fans in prayer. And we'll pray for you guys to find the grace of God and patience.
Make sure that they have no access to ropes.
Yes, to access to ropes. And man, that no usually has some nice scripture, man, to inspire. Can you throw us one for your fellow United fans?
Count it all joy when you go through all kinds of trial and tribulation. It is producing character, and character produces hope. Yeah,
that Calaste lasted. It was not in the Bible. The Calaste one you added, man, some soup. But it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We'll have to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. We leave it with a comment from Kevin. He's coming back saying Liverpool is going to hard. Now, man, the English today.
The English bundles, man.
Liverpool, and it's all for guys. No, it's not a Liverpool. Liverpool is going to hard.
Be hard to more.
It's going to be hard to more this season. They look to not be just good, but consistent too. And if they can be consistent, they will hold fort. I mean, something is working. Why change it? All right. Yeah. I get the point, Kevin, there. Klopp's system is working. Why should Ancelotti change it? And we'll see if Liverpool can hang in there. We have to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining. It was by default a United special with Chris, Lord Boom Boom Squad Chairman, in the building and in the zone, and we had a great chat. We'll wait to see if Eric Ten Hag survives the sack. Over his next 2 games. Manzi, thanks for joining. Chris, thanks for joining. Have a good weekend, ladies and gentlemen. As usual, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button, share, and drop your comment. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.